The hunting moon was silent when the alien ships arrived. Tall, armor hunters stepped out, their eyes bright with excitement. Every year, they came to this wild place to test themselves. They liked speed, strength, and the feeling of chasing something that could not fight back. To them, hunting was not survival. It was entertainment. This year, the organizers promised something new, something rare, something strange. A human. The hunters gathered around a cage as it opened. Inside stood Jonas Hale, a thin human man with tired eyes and sunburned skin. He looked calm, almost too calm. He did not roar, scream, or beg. He simply stepped out and looked at the forest like he had been here before. The hunters laughed. One nudged another. "This one looks weak," he said. Another nodded. "Slow, too." Jonas heard them, but he did not react. He only kept breathing in a slow, steady rhythm. His heart was not racing. His hands were not shaking. He seemed to be saving every bit of energy he had. The lead hunter gave him the rules. He had 1 hour to run into the trees. After that, they would come for him. They promised a fast chase and a fast end. They always thought their prey would panic and run wildly. That made the game fun for them. Jonas just nodded once. When the timer started, Jonas walked into the forest. Not ran, walked. The hunters stared at him, confused. "Is he stupid?" one asked. "No," said another. "He is already defeated." But Jonas kept moving at the same slow pace, slipping quietly between trees, stepping over roots, choosing steady ground. He did not look back. The hunters waited until the hour was over, then activated their scanners. They expected an easy signal, maybe even a human lying somewhere in fear. Instead, the tracker showed a long, smooth trail, one unbroken line of movement. No stops, no heavy breathing, no sign of panic. They frowned. Strange. He should be tired by now. They began the chase. Alien boots slammed against the ground as they sprinted, pushing their powerful muscles hard. They were faster than any human at full speed. Their legs were built like springs, strong and explosive. They expected to catch Jonas within minutes. But after 10 minutes, they slowed. After 15, 2 hunters needed water. After 20, one stopped to rest against a tree, panting loudly. They checked the tracker again. Jonas had not stopped once. His pace stayed even, like he was jogging on a calm trail back on Earth. "He cannot keep this up," one hunter said. But he did. Jonas kept a rhythm. Step, breath, step, breath. His body moved like this was natural. He did not rush, did not waste strength. He watched shadows, listened to wind, and picked paths that stayed cool and shaded. He moved as if he had been doing this his whole life. Meanwhile, the hunters sweated under their armor. Their powerful bodies were built for short bursts of speed, not long travel. Their muscles burned. Their lungs felt heavy. Every time they thought they were close, the tracker told them Jonas had slipped farther ahead. "He is not prey," the lead hunter muttered. "He is planning something." Still, they kept chasing. Their pride would not let them stop. Jonas knew they were behind him. He could hear them far away when the wind carried sound. Their voices, their footsteps, heavy, clumsy, rushing too hard. He knew they were fast, but he also knew something else. Humans had a different kind of strength. They did not stop. They did not overheat easily. They could outlast almost anything. Jonas kept going until the sky darkened. He climbed a small rise and looked back. He could not see the hunters, but he knew they were struggling. They always sprinted at the start. They always believed speed won hunts. Jonas smiled slightly. "They don't understand," he whispered. He moved again, steady as ever. Near midnight, the hunters reached the rise, wheezing and exhausted. Sweat dripped from their necks. Some leaned over, hands on knees. One dropped to the ground, breathing like he had run for his life. The lead hunter slammed a fist against a tree. "This is impossible. No prey lasts this long." Then he checked the tracker again. Jonas was still moving, still steady, still far ahead. The hunters felt something they had never felt before. Confusion mixed with a small, sharp edge of fear. They had come here thinking they would chase a weak human. But as the night settled over the jungle moon, They began to understand something new. They were not the only hunters on this planet. The alien hunters began the morning full of confidence. They believed they had the advantage. They believed humans were weak, slow, and easy to catch. But as the sun rose higher, they started to notice something strange. Jonas Hale, the human they were chasing, never stopped moving. He did not hide. He did not panic. He did not rest. He simply kept going. The hunters were strong and fast, built for short, powerful bursts. They could sprint faster than any human, leap farther, and sense movement with high accuracy. But they were not made for long hours under the hot sun or endless running over rough ground. Jonas moved through the forest in a calm, steady rhythm. He stepped around sharp stones. He avoided deep mud. He drank water from a small stream. He walked when the ground was tough and ran when the trail was clear. His breathing stayed slow and controlled. But the hunters' breathing grew heavier. Their muscles hurt. Their legs began to shake under their own weight. One hunter wiped sweat from his eyes. "Why is he not stopping?" he whispered. "He will tire soon," the leader replied. But his own voice was not sure. The forest felt different now. At first, it had been only a place for their sport, a wild playground for their arrogance. Now it felt like the forest itself was helping the human. Every hill favored him. Every narrow path slowed them. Every shadow felt like it hid his eyes. Late in the morning, the hunters reached a steep slope. Jonas had climbed it hours earlier. For him, it was only a challenge. But for the hunters, with their heavy armor and tired bodies, the climb was torture. One slipped and slid back down, hitting the ground with a painful thud. Another had to sit, holding his chest, trying to breathe normally. "I think he's wearing us down," the hunter gasped. The leader ignored him, but deep inside, he knew it was true. Near the top of the slope, the hunters found footprints. Fresh ones. Jonas had passed through recently. But the footprints did not continue straight. They curved around a large fallen tree and disappeared. "He is circling us," one hunter said with fear in his voice. "It is a trick," the leader insisted. Humans are not capable of such planning. But even he felt doubt. Jonas was doing something clever. He was not running randomly. He was using the land. He was watching them. He was leading them into a place where he held the advantage. A few hours later, when the hunters crossed a narrow valley, they finally realized how dangerous their situation had become. The air grew cooler. Shadows stretched long between tall trees. Strange growls echoed through the forest. The hunters looked around nervously. "This area is full of predators," one whispered. But Jonas had guided them here on purpose. He knew the forest. He understood how animals moved, what sound they made, what trails they followed, and what areas they avoided. The hunters, however, walked blindly. A sudden roar broke the silence. A large forest beast, twice the size of a human, burst from the bushes. Its eyes glowed yellow, and its thick claws scraped the dirt. The hunters panicked. One fired his plasma weapon too fast, missing the creature completely. Another stumbled and dropped his gear. Jonas had passed this place hours earlier, leaving almost no scent. But the hunters, sweating and breathing heavily, were easy to smell. They had become prey. The beast chased them through the valley, forcing them to run with everything they had left. Their steps were uneven. Their legs were shaking. Their lungs screamed for air. And all the while, Jonas watched from high above a rock ledge. He saw them not as enemies, but as a threat he had to outlast. The hunters finally escaped the beast, but they were broken. Two had deep claw wounds. One could barely stand. Their armor was scratched and dented. Their faces were pale with fear. For the first time in their lives, they understood what it felt like to be hunted. As they tried to gather themselves, they checked the tracker again. Jonas was behind them now. Somehow, while they were running for their lives, he had slipped past and taken the lead again. "This is impossible," one said in a trembling voice. "He is toying with us," another whispered. "No," the leader said. "He is pacing himself while we fall apart." The sun began to set, burning orange through the trees. Jonas continued moving at the same calm pace. He had no reason to rush. He knew their bodies were failing. He knew their minds were breaking. He only needed to keep going. By nightfall, the hunters were limping, dragging their feet, flinching at every sound. The forest felt alive around them. They felt watched. They felt chased. They felt hunted. And somewhere ahead, Jonas kept walking, steady and patient, knowing exactly what the night would do to them. The hunters finally realized the truth. This was not a game anymore. They were not chasing a human. The human was hunting them. The alien hunters sat in a shaky circle as night settled over the forest. Their bodies were exhausted, their armor was dented, and their pride was crushed. None of them spoke at first. They were afraid their voices would crack or reveal how close they were collapsing. Jonas, meanwhile, was not far away. He sat on a tree branch, eating a handful of berries he had gathered. His breathing was steady. His heartbeat was calm. His eyes watched the forest with quiet focus. Every rustle, every bird call, every movement in the dark. He noticed it all. He had lived through hard times on Earth. Hunger, long work hours, and long walks through dangerous streets had trained his body and mind. He did not know it, but he had become exactly what humans were built to be, a persistence hunter. The aliens, however, were built for short combat bursts, not long endurance. Their bodies were overheating. Their lungs burned. Their muscles were full of toxins from too much sprinting. One hunter tried to stand, but his legs shook so badly he had to sit again. "We cannot continue like this," he admitted. The group's medic scanned him. The device beeped sharply. "His muscles are failing. All of ours are. We need rest, long rest." "But the human does not stop," another whispered. "How is that possible?" The leader scowled. "Humans are fragile. Their hearts are weak. Their bones are thin. They cannot be this strong." But even he knew his words sounded hollow. To understand what was happening, he opened a small display built into his wrist armor. It showed Jonas's biological readings. The hunters had scanned him at the start of the hunt, expecting simple data. They had ignored it then. Now they studied it carefully. "It says his body cools itself through sweating." The medic said slowly, reading the information. "Constantly." The others blinked. "Sweating? All the time." "That is inefficient," one muttered. "No," the medic said. "Actually, it is very efficient. Their bodies are made to release heat fast. They can move for hours without overheating." A heavy silence fell. Another hunter pointed to the monitor. "Look here. Their Achilles tendon. It gives them a strong spring when they run. And their feet, they are made for distance, not speed." The leader felt annoyed. "They still cannot outrun us." "Not in a sprint," the medic agreed. "But in long distance, they can. They are built for it." One hunter stared into the darkness. "Then why do they walk upright?" "It seems inefficient." The medic zoomed in on another part of the scan. "Look at their spine. It supports long-term movement. And their lungs are large compared to ours. They can take in more air." Another realized something. "And their skin is thin but releases heat better than ours." The group looked around, suddenly understanding. Jonas was not winning because of luck or tricks. He was winning because humans were made for this. Jonas, unaware of the quiet panic he was causing, stretched his arms and legs casually. He knew the hunters were resting. He knew they were hurting. He knew they did not understand what he understood. You do not run from fear. You run with purpose. You run with patience. You wait for the moment when your enemy breaks. And the hunters were breaking. Back at the camp, the leader rubbed his temples. "This is absurd. Humans are weak, primitive, soft." The medic shook his head. "Their minds are not soft, and their bodies are built to follow their minds. Look here." He pointed at Jonas's adrenaline readings. Low, almost calm. That shocked everyone. "He is not afraid," one whispered. "No," the medic answered. "His body is in a steady state. He is pacing himself. He knows how to control his energy. We pushed too hard too fast, and now we pay the cost." The leader clenched his fists. He hated what he was hearing. "We cannot return to our ship and say we were defeated by a human. We continue." But the others did not move. Their bodies simply refused. Meanwhile, Jonas climbed down from his tree branch and began walking again. He moved quietly through the forest, avoiding dry leaves and snapping twigs. He had learned long ago that noise could cost you everything in dangerous places. His movements were slow, patient, and smooth. His breathing made barely a sound. As he walked, he whispered to himself, "They'll break soon." He was right. After midnight, one hunter tried to stand and collapsed. His legs would not support him. Another's vision blurred. A third felt dizzy and sick. "What is happening to us?" one cried out. "You are overheating," the medic said. "Your bodies cannot cool fast enough." "Then how is he fine?" the hunter demanded. The medic swallowed. "Because humans evolved to do this. To run far, far longer than any creature their size. Their ancestors chased prey for hours until it collapsed." The leader stared at him in silence. "So we are the prey now?" No one answered. Jonas paused at a ridge above them, watching from the shadows. Their lights were dim, their movements weak. He knew their limit had been reached. He stayed there for a moment, studying them, not with hate, but with the quiet understanding of someone who had been underestimated his whole life. Then he kept walking, leaving them behind, letting nature remind them of a simple truth. Humans were not meant to be hunted. Humans were meant to endure. The forest grew darker as night settled fully, wrapping everything in cold silence. The alien hunters huddled together near a dim heat lamp, their bodies shaking from exhaustion and pain. Their armor was cracked. Their faces were pale. Their breaths came short and fast. None of them had imagined the hunt would turn like this. Across the forest, Jonas moved quietly through the trees. He was tired, yes, but not broken. His body worked with a steady rhythm, slow steps, calm breathing, careful movements. He saved his strength, rested when he needed to, and kept going when the moment felt right. The hunters did not understand pacing. Jonas did. He found a flat rock under a wide tree and sat down. He rubbed his sore feet, drank a little water, and leaned back. His eyes stayed alert. He listened to the forest sounds around him, the wind, the insects, the distant rumble of the alien camp generator. He was alone, but he did not feel lonely. He had been alone many times on Earth, walking long miles to work, sleeping in cold rooms, trying to get through days without enough food. Those years had been his training, even when he didn't realize it. But the hunters? They were learning fear. Back at their camp, one hunter tried to stand but fell hard on his knees. "We cannot last a night," he whispered. The medic scanned him and frowned. "Your muscles are failing. You are overheating again." "But the air is cold," another argued. "Too cold," the medic answered. "Our bodies cannot regulate fast changes. And this human, he adapts too quickly. His temperature stays stable." The leader paced back and forth, angry but barely able to hide his worry. "We are elite. We are trained. We should be able to handle this." "Not like him," the medic said softly. The leader glared. "Are you saying a human is stronger?" "I am saying," the medic replied, "that humans are built for nights like this. Long nights, long hunts, long struggles." Another hunter shivered, wrapping his arms around himself. "He has no fear. That is impossible." "He has fear," the medic corrected. "He simply knows how to move with it." They grew silent. Meanwhile, Jonas rose from his resting spot and started walking again. The cold night bit at his skin, but his body adjusted quickly. His heart beat a little faster, helping him stay warm. He wiped sweat from his forehead, letting the cool air dry him. He was not trying to attack them. He was simply trying to stay alive. But the hunters did not know that. At the camp, strange noises echoed through dark. Leaves rustled. Branches cracked. The hunters jumped each time. One whispered, "Is that him?" "No," another whispered back. "He doesn't make sounds like that." That frightened them even more. Their minds played tricks. They imagined Jonas in every shadow. They imagined him watching. They imagined him smiling. They imagined him waiting for them to break. And slowly, they were breaking. Hours passed. The cold got worse. Their bodies were not built for such long exposure. Their hearts worked harder. Their breath fogged the air, and their claws trembled each time they gripped their weapons. The leader finally sat down heavily, his pride fading. We underestimated him. No, the medic said. We underestimated all humans. The leader's eyes narrowed. Explain. The medic showed the biological scan again. Their bodies are strange. They store energy slowly and release it slowly. They do not freeze easily. They do not overheat easily. Their muscles do not fail fast. Their minds stay alert even when tired. The group looked at each other in disbelief. They are built for survival, the medic continued. Through cold, through heat, through hunger, through fear. The leader sighed. Then what happens when he reaches us? No one answered. Jonas was closer than they thought. He had circled the forest twice already, using the long night to watch their movements. His steps were soft, barely bending the grass beneath him. His breath made no sound. His heartbeat stayed slow and steady. When he saw their campfire, he crouched behind a bush and watched. The hunters were shaking, miserable, and too tired to move. He almost felt sorry for them. Almost. He adjusted his backpack, stood again, and quietly left. He knew they would not chase him tonight. They could barely stand. They were trapped in their own weakness, their own fear, their own misunderstanding of what humans could do. He found another safe spot under a rock overhang and sat down. He hugged his knees close to his chest and closed his eyes for a moment, not fully sleeping, just resting. This night was long. The longest night of the hunt. The longest night of their lives. But Jonas knew something the hunters didn't. Long nights end. Long hunts end. And when they do, the one who endures becomes the one who decides a final move. He breathed out slowly and whispered to himself, just a little longer. The forest stayed quiet around him, waiting for dawn. The sun rose slowly over the forest, spreading soft golden light through the trees. The long hunt was over, and the cold night had finally ended. Jonas opened his eyes as the beams touched his face. He felt stiff, tired, and hungry, but calm. His body had survived another long push. His mind was steady. The alien hunters, however, were not steady at all. Their camp looked like a battlefield. Armor pieces lay scattered. Their heat lamp had burned out hours ago. Some hunters sat hunched over, clutching their sides. Others stared into the distance with empty eyes, too exhausted to speak. When they heard soft footsteps, they panicked, jumping to their feet, raising weapons, backs pressed together in fear. But Jonas did not approach with anger or threat. He simply stepped out of the trees and stood at the edge of their camp. His clothes were torn. His boots were covered with dirt. His face showed the marks of a long night. But he stood tall. His breathing was steady. His eyes were clear. The hunters looked at him and felt something heavy in their chests, respect mixed with disbelief. The leader stepped forward, but his legs shook so badly he nearly fell. He caught himself and tried to straighten his posture. Human, you could have attacked us in the night. Jonas shrugged. I didn't need to. You tracked us the whole time? He nodded. Yeah, not hard. The medic blinked at him. But we never heard you, never saw you. That's the point of tracking, Jonas said softly. The hunters lowered their weapons. They finally accepted what pride had kept them from admitting. The hunt had flipped long ago. They had become the prey, and he had become the enduring force they couldn't overcome. The leader took a shaky breath. You have shown a strength we did not expect. Jonas gave a tired smile. Humans have many surprises. The medic stepped closer. His hands trembled, not from fear, but from weakness. Your body, how did you manage the cold? The hunger? Jonas looked around. Humans are made for long journeys, long hunts. We grew up running across plains, chasing food until it collapsed, surviving nights like this. The hunters exchanged looks. They had heard whispers of such things, rumors about humans being persistent hunters, but none had believed it. The leader bowed his head slightly. We misjudged your species. Jonas shrugged again. Most people do. No one moved for a long moment. The forest wind blew lightly, carrying the smell of morning soil and fading fear. Then the leader spoke carefully, almost humbly. Human, Jonas, we request a treaty. Jonas squinted. A treaty? With me? Yes, the leader said. With you. The one who showed us what endurance truly means. Jonas wasn't sure what to say. He scratched the back of his head. He had not come here to make enemies. He had not come to win. He had simply come to survive. What kind of treaty? He asked. The leader straightened as best as he could. A treaty of endurance. A promise that our two species will not hunt each other again. A promise to respect your strength. A promise to learn from you, instead of testing you. Jonas stepped closer, slowly, giving him time to relax. And what do I give? The medic answered softly. You give us understanding. You show us how humans survive. You help us see that your species is not weak prey, but strong partners. Jonas looked at their tired faces. He saw honesty there. No tricks, no traps, just a group of once proud warriors who had learned a painful lesson. He nodded. All right, I accept. The hunters lowered their weapons completely. Some let out relieved breaths. Others sat down again, finally letting their bodies rest. A few even smiled at him, small, tired smiles, but real ones. The leader extended his hand. Jonas hesitated for only a second before shaking it. Their grips were weak, but the meaning was strong. This treaty will be known, the leader said. Our people will hear the human, who endured when we could not. Jonas chuckled softly. I'm nobody special. The medic shook his head. You survived what we could not. That makes you more than special. Jonas looked up at the sky, now bright and warm. The worst part was over. The fear that chased the long night, it was all behind him. Ahead of him was something new. Respect, understanding, peace. The hunters packed their gear slowly, limping and supporting one another. Jonas helped them when they stumbled. They accepted his hands with quiet gratitude. As they prepared to leave the forest, the leader glanced back at Jonas. Will we see you again? Jonas smiled. Maybe. Depends if you bring better food next time. Some of the hunters laughed weakly. It wasn't much, but it was a start. Together, they walked out of forest, no longer hunter and hunted, but something closer to equals. A treaty had been written that morning, not with ink or signatures, but with endurance, humility, and understanding. And in the years ahead, the galaxy would remember the hunt that changed everything, the night that broke the hunters, and the human who didn't break it all. ChatGPT can make.